Hello, everyone. My name's Mike. Welcome to another Chew in the Fat. Before we start today's podcast, I want to take today and give thanks to the men and women that and served in a way that they gave the ultimate sacrifice of their life, because that's what Memorial Day is. We honor those that are fallen, the ones that sacrificed far more than any of us, and that's given their life so that we can have the freedom to do whatever we want, to be whoever we want, and without the sacrifice that they made, we wouldn't be able to do that. We wouldn't have this great country that we have of ours. So thank you. You'll never be forgotten. Today, I want to give a shout out to recognize a group of people at the MRI or the imaging division or section at Houston Methodist, particularly the one in Katy, Methodist Hospital in Katy. A couple weeks ago, I went in to have a brain MRI done, scan, and I'll let you guys know that when I got to Methodist, uh, and I have to preface the visit and the names with how Methodist is handling this so-called pandemic, this crisis. When you go in to any of the buildings, first thing they do is they scan you. There's a couple of nurses at a station that scan you. You have a certain place to stand. They check you with a thermometer, one of them uh, kind that can just get it up on your forehead and it gives you a temperature, and then they ask you the necessary questions to find out if you've got showing shown any of the symptoms of COVID-19 or have been exposed by someone that had COVID-19 or traveled overseas or been to China or any of that. And after that, if you have no temperature and you've answered no to any of that, they put a wristband on you. And I don't know if it's the same color all the time. I know that that Friday that I was in there, it was red, and they put that on you, and then you hand sanitize your hands and go to your appointments. Well, um, the staff that when you go in, were very professional handling it. Everything moved along rather well. There was a lot of spacing between people, and movement was pretty easy and smooth. When I got to the imaging section, there the waiting area, they had the chairs, the regular sitting chairs were 6 feet apart, so nobody was within that. They were doing the social distancing like they were supposed to, or what has been recommended. And while I was waiting for the appointment, I was noticing that everybody was wearing masks. Uh, all the patients, anybody that was inside the facility, was wearing a mask. Whether you were a doctor, a worker, or whatever, they were all wearing masks, and they were wearing gloves. The staff. So when they called me in to have it done, the guy that called me was his name's Daryl. He's the one that did the first MRI I had done back in March before the pandemic had everything got down into lockdown. Nobody was going to the doctors. They were doing tele appointments over the phone and using like FaceTime. And so he had been the one that had originally helped me with the first MRI. And he recognized me and he was like, "Oh, Mr. Dicelli, don't worry. We'll take care of you. We know your situation. You can't stand or all. So transferring the table is going to be difficult for you. We've got everybody lined up. We're ready to go." So first stop, I have to uh, really tell you guys, I, there's a difference, in getting a tattoo, and there's a difference in being stabbed with a needle for blood or an IV. It's just there's a difference, and I don't mind getting the tattoos. I just don't like being stabbed to withdraw blood or get a shot or an IV. I don't like it. And Leslie was the technician that was working in that section. She was the only one, and she. All I gotta say is I don't mind ever getting poked with a needle to give blood or IV from Leslie. Leslie was very professional. It was painless, no worries. Drew the blood, the IV was in place for the imaging stuff they put in you, the radiological or whatever kind of stuff they put in you to get the image that they want. And Leslie was very kind and made me feel at ease getting the first part of this MRI under the way. So a big shout out to Leslie in the all I know is it was the IV. I guess you call it an IV department, or but it's the first place you go. So big shout out to her. Thank you, Leslie, for being gentle and making it painless for me this time around. And now we get into where I was having the brain MRI done, the scan place, and there was Daryl, and he was introduced me to Rose, who is a nurse there, and then there was Angel, who worked MRI also as a tech, and then there was Malachi, who uh, worked in X-ray section of imaging, and they were just awesome people, man. They each took a corner of me, each grabbed one on each under each arm and one on each leg and ankle, and they picked me up out of my chair. They reclined my chair back, and they picked me up out of it and put me gently on the table. And before they did anything else, they made sure that I was comfortable. Because I had a little bit of a spasm once I laid down, so they wanted to make sure that it wasn't anything they did, and it's not. That so they voluntary. That happens quite a bit with me, and they did a great job getting me in. So during the MRI, it's I don't know if it's like this in any of the other the hospitals or other facilities that do MRI, because I'm sure there's imaging facilities all over the place. Um, Daryl put a put your earplugs in, and then he put a set of headphones on me, and I was looking at him like, "Why the headphones?" He says, "Well, you're going to be in here for about 30 minutes. Would you like to listen to some music or something on the radio?" And he said, "We got iHeart. What would you like?" And I said, "Can I get 740 KTRH so I can listen to Rush Limbaugh?" And he said, "Sure." So the whole process while I was in there, I was listening to one of my favorite commentators, Rush Limbaugh, and uh, and after the MRI, it was the same procedure except in reverse. They sat me up though on the table. My back was a little bit sore. Anytime I have to sit for or lay for a length, anytime I lay for a length and then I sit up, my back kind of tweaks a little bit. But they were gentle. They waited until everything kind of subsided, and then I mean, if you could picture where the table's at, I'm sitting, and then where the chair's at, and the reach that these people had to do, they lifted me in a sitting position, and I know it was awkward for at least two of them, and they gently placed me in my chair. I mean, it was amazing. And a lot of you guys might who are listening might be going, "What's the big deal?" Well, you know what? The big deal is, and I'm sure this has probably happened to a number of people. Um, and I can only speak for myself, though. Is I've been dropped. I've been dropped by paramedics. I've been dropped by staff in emergency. Not on purpose. It's that shock of not realizing how much I really weigh and how much dead weight that you are when you can't stand. And all you're doing, the best you can do is hold around the person's neck while they try to lift you in a bear hug type situation to move you. So, and Daryl remembers the last time when they was him and three other individuals that I kept saying, "Oh, man, don't drop me, guys, don't drop me." And this time I said it, but it wasn't like I had apologized. I just told him it's just that thing that's in your head, because you're used to having it happen to you. But they were perfect. And again, I mean, a big thanks to Daryl, Rose, Angel, Malachi, and Leslie, the needle lady. Thank you guys for doing what Methodist does best, and that's think of the patient, put the patient at ease, don't get them all worked up. And because most places, they're always in a hurry, and it puts a stress on the patient, and it makes the visit worse, makes it uncomfortable for both, you know, the doctor or the nurse and the patient. But here at Methodist, the first thought is you. They think about you, and that's why I love Houston Methodist and everybody that I've ever come in contact with since I got back to Texas in 2018 from visiting my mom, Mama Chili. Um, Everybody in this hospital and in the doctor's office, primary care, from primary care, urology, and neurology, and now down in imaging. Everybody, you all do a great job. But in particular, gotta say it again, man. Big shout out to Daryl, Rose, Angel, Malachi, and Leslie. You guys are a credit to Houston Methodist, and if I ever have to come back in for an MRI, I'd be more than happy. I'd be happy to see you guys again. Um, I don't know if you ever get that much, but that's how I feel. So, with that said, I want to ask God to bless all of you guys, to bless you with great life, good health, a lot of success, all of those things that we desire. I ask God to bless you all and to give you all those things. And I do that in Jesus' name. Now, if anybody here that happens to be listening finds what a little bit of this chewing the fat was today about, knows anybody that would find that interesting, please share this podcast. Um, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click that little bell for a notification because I'm going to start picking up the podcast. It's been a while since I've done one. And if you got any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comment section. Let me know if there's any topics you want discussed or talked about. Anybody you'd like me to maybe do an interview with, put that all down in there and let me know. And main thing is make sure you share because there's a lot of people out there with disabilities or they're homebound that feel like nobody's knows what they're going through. And trust me, I know what you all are going through. So I want to thank you guys for listening and see you guys in the next chewing the fat. Mike out.